This is the story of the birth of the World Wide Web. Our journey begins not in a flashy Silicon Valley garage, but in the quiet academic halls of CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, nestled near Geneva, Switzerland. This was a place filled with brilliant minds from all over the world, all working on unraveling the deepest mysteries of the universe. But they faced a very down-to-earth problem: information chaos. Imagine thousands of researchers, spread across different universities and countries, all contributing to massive, complex projects like the Large Hadron Collider. They had documents, data, notes, and research papers stored on different computers in different formats, on different networks. Finding a specific piece of information was like searching for a single book in a library with no catalog system, where all the books are written in different languages and stored in random piles. It was inefficient, frustrating, and slowing down the pace of discovery. Enter Tim Berners-Lee, a British computer scientist working at CERN. He wasn't a physicist smashing atoms, but he saw this organizational nightmare up close. He understood the frustration. He had already developed a personal database for himself called Inquire, a program that let him link pages of information together, mimicking the way his own brain made associations. It was a small-scale solution to his own information overload, but it planted a seed. What if he could scale this idea up? What if he could create a system that linked not just his own files, but all the information on all the computers at CERN, and eventually the world? In March 1989, Berners-Lee wrote a proposal. Its title was rather dry: Information Management, a Proposal. It didn't scream revolution. It was a practical solution to a practical problem. He proposed a system using hypertext, a concept that had been around for decades, which basically means text that contains links to other text. You click a word, and you're taken to a new page of information. His vision was a universal, linked information system, a web of knowledge that anyone could access and contribute to. His boss at the time, Mike Sendall, was intrigued, but not entirely convinced. He scribbled on the top of the proposal, "Vague but exciting." It wasn't a roaring endorsement, but it was enough. Berners-Lee was given the green light to work on the project in his spare time. He had the idea, he had the permission, but he still needed the tools. Since they didn't exist, he would have to invent them. Since they didn't exist, he would have to invent them. This is where the story really accelerates, leading us to the pivotal moment in late 1990. To make his web a reality, Berners-Lee needed to create three fundamental technologies. First, he needed a way to uniquely identify every single document on this new web. Think of it like a postal address for information. He invented the URL, the Uniform Resource Locator, that HTTP Steakhorns you see at the beginning of every web address. That's his invention. It's the standard address format that tells your browser exactly where to go to find a page. Second, he needed a language to write web pages in. It had to be simple enough for non-programmers to use, but powerful enough to create pages with text, images, and most importantly, links. He created HTML, the hypertext markup language. It's the basic scaffolding of almost every web page you see today. The tags that make text bold, create paragraphs, and embed links all come from this foundational language. And third, he needed a way for computers to talk to each other, to request and send these pages. This is the protocol of the web. He designed HTTP, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It's the silent messenger that works behind the scenes every time you click a link, sending a request to a server and delivering the requested page back to your screen. URL, HTML, and HTTP. These were the three pillars of his creation. With the conceptual framework in place, Berners-Lee got to work building the world's very first web browser. He developed it on a sophisticated, but at the time, quite niche, Next computer. He called his program World Wide Web. It was not only a browser for viewing web pages, but it was also an editor for creating them. His vision was not just about consumption, it was about creation. He wanted the web to be a collaborative space where everyone could be both a reader and a writer. At the same time, he set up the world's very first web server. A server is just a computer that's always on, ready to serve up web pages when requested. The address of this first ever website? info.cern.th. It ran on that same Next computer in his office at CERN. A sticker on the computer's case read, "This machine is a server. Do not power it down." That machine held the entire World Wide Web. And so we arrive at November 12th, 1990. This is the date Tim Berners-Lee, along with his colleague Robert Cailliau, who had joined him on the project, published a formal proposal that finally gave their project its name, World Wide Web. This document outlined the architecture and defined the key terms, laying out the blueprint for the digital universe we now inhabit. The vague but exciting idea had become a concrete plan, with working prototypes. By Christmas of 1990, the system was operational. Berners-Lee had the browser, the server, and the first website was live. It was a simple page explaining what the World Wide Web was, how to get a browser, and how to set up your own server. It was the web's first instruction manual, published on the web itself. The first web page was, in essence, a how-to guide for building the web. For the next year, the web remained an internal tool at CERN. But Berners-Lee knew its potential was far greater. He championed the technology, spreading the word to other scientific institutions. In August 1991, he announced the project on public internet news groups, making the software available to anyone in the world who wanted to download it. The spark had been lit. Slowly at first, then with gathering speed, people started setting up their own servers. The first server outside of Europe was set up at the Stanford Linear Accelerator Center in California in December 1991. The web had crossed the Atlantic. By 1993, there were over 500 known web servers. Then came Mosaic, the first browser with a user-friendly graphical interface that could display images alongside text. It was a game changer. Suddenly, the web wasn't just for academics and techies. It was accessible, it was visual, it was exciting. The explosion was about to happen. What's truly remarkable about this story is the spirit in which it was created. Tim Berners-Lee and CERN made a decision that would shape the future of humanity. In 1993, they announced that the technology of the World Wide Web would be available for anyone to use, royalty-free, forever. They gave it to the world as a gift. They could have patented it, licensed it, and become unimaginably wealthy. But they didn't. They chose to make it an open, universal standard. That decision is the reason the web grew so explosively. It ensured that no single company or country could own or control the web. It was built on principles of openness, decentralization, and universal access. So the next time you're browsing, shopping, or learning online, take a moment to think back to that office at CERN. Picture a quiet, thoughtful computer scientist trying to solve a problem of information overload for his fellow physicists. He wasn't trying to create a multi-trillion-dollar industry or change the fabric of society. He was just trying to connect information. But in doing so, he ended up connecting all of us. The World Wide Web wasn't an accident. It was an invention born of a specific need, but it was its release as a gift to the world that allowed it to become the incredible, world-changing force it is today. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the past interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories about the technology that shapes our world.